First of all, let me say that at the end of this press conference, we're going to provide you the draft resolution that has been tabled for the plenary of next week, and that is supported at this moment by 4 groups, by the PPE, the S&D, the ALDE group, and the Greens. It's also possible that in the coming days, other groups will join the support for this resolution. And why this resolution? First of all, because it is an unprecedented and regrettable event that a member state is leaving the European Union. But you know that in the treaty is very clearly indicated that it is this House, the European Parliament, who has to approve the final deal, the final agreement. And what we want to do in this position, in this opinion, in this resolution, is already making very clear what the points are that have to be met in order to give the approval to this final agreement. So it's not an exercise in the air. It's to already very clearly indicating and stating what the points are that for the European Parliament need to be in the agreement within more or less 2 years. The basic principle, and the President has already said it, is citizens first. And when we talk about citizens, it's citizens in Britain and it's citizens in the European Union. For us, it's an absolute priority that the rights of these citizens is settled. And we think even that it needs to be the first point, the first issue to be tackled in the negotiations. So we want that these negotiations start with the right of the residents, UK residents living in Europe and the EU residents living in Britain, because we don't think, and we are completely against the fact that citizens should become bargaining chips in a negotiation. And full protection on both sides is absolutely needed in accordance with the European law and with the Charter of Fundamental Rights. And it's also in the same spirit that we want that the EU27 examine how to mitigate the negative effect for those British people who are losing their European citizenship, a solution that has to be naturally in full line with the primary law of the European Union. The second point that we make clear in this opinion of the Parliament that is tabled for next week is that we hope for fair and constructive negotiations. That means no behind or back. And for example, we make very clear in our resolution that we will never accept, for example, that behind our back the UK is starting trade negotiations with other countries before the withdrawal. Because until the withdrawal, the UK is a full member of the European Union with all the rights, but also with all the obligations. And the same goes, in fact, also for the individual member states of the European Union, who could be, I should say, tempted to negotiate separate agreements with the UK. For us, for the European Parliament, the unity of the 27 is vital. And the best way to achieve this is to take on board in the negotiation mandate of the Union all the interests of the 27 member states of the Union, especially of the Republic of Ireland. Because we recognise as Parliament that there is a special threat on Ireland and also on Northern Ireland, and that new unrest in Northern Ireland has absolutely to be avoided. And therefore, we are very clear. The Brexit agreement needs to fully respect the Good Friday Agreement in all its aspects, and that means also that we will never accept a hard border again between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. We want also, in our very clear resolution, a financial settlement. And we expect from the UK that in this financial settlement, they honor all their legal, financial, and budgetary obligations. And next point, naturally, is the future relationship with Britain. In the European Parliament, and I hope that it will be backed by a huge majority, we still think that the best solution for the UK, for its citizens and for its companies, was to remain part of the single market, was to remain at least part of the customs union. But unfortunately, this is not the way the UK sees it, as it does not accept the four freedoms and as it wants to negotiate its own trade agreements. From our side, nevertheless, we want to make clear that sectoral agreements cutting up the single market, in fact destroying the single market, won't be allowed. We are of the opinion that the best way for a future close partnership between the Union and the UK is an association agreement based on Article 217 of the treaty. And I give you a short, I will not read it completely, what 217 is saying. The Union may conclude with one or more third countries agreements establishing association involving reciprocal rights and obligation, common action and special procedure. We think that such an association agreement goes naturally well beyond economic cooperation. It's also about, for example, cooperation on security or implementing programs like, for example, Erasmus, and in which case, naturally, the UK has to meet European standards and also to pay the normal contributions. But what we shall never accept is that there is a trade-off between the one and the other. Saying, oh, we can do a good agreement on security, internal and external, if there is also a deal that we want on trade and economics. I think that the security of our citizens is far too important to start a trade-off from one for the other. And in our point of view, both are absolutely necessary in the future partnership without starting to bargain on this, the one against the other. We don't exclude also a transition period that in our point of view needs to be limited in time. And we propose 3 years. And then finally, I want to remind you that the Parliament needs to sign off this final agreement or agreements. The withdrawal agreement, the future partnership, eventually the transition. And what we're going to do as Parliament is to do everything to minimize the negative effects for citizens and businesses of these different agreements. And as the President of our House, Mr. Tajani, has indicated, naturally it will never be the same. It will never be outside the Union better than inside the Union. And that is not a question of revenge. That is not a question of punishment. That is the logic of the European Union, of the European treaties, of the European project, that together we created an added value for everybody of our countries and for every of our citizens. Naturally, the Parliament will later on come with more detailed resolutions on specific issues in the coming months. And normally that will start after the summer break when, I should say, the negotiations between the European Union and the UK are really on speed, if I may use that expression.